Okay, see here. Guess we clocked in. Hey, what's going on, party people? Now, if this is your first time here, welcome. It's definitely a pleasure to have you here. I go by the name of L'Esprit. I am a spiritual healer. And essentially, as a spiritual healer, what I do pretty much is that I help people to become mentally and emotionally balanced. And ultimately, the goal is for you to attain your highest state of consciousness. That's simply what I do. Now, when it comes to this channel here, I got two of them. This is to give, is to receive. What we do in this channel, we actually talk about, let's just say, quotes and wise saying or proverbs, as most people like to label it. And the reason why I have chosen to capitalize on those, because there are short sentences or statements that are fully loaded. And what I was able to learn from these things is they are packed with a lot of wisdom. But most importantly, there are, you know, they captivate your mind. And the way they do that, it's because of how things are being said. So the beauty of poetry or even being a great speaker, it isn't necessarily about what you're saying or the objective meaning of a word where we're talking about the power of words, but we understand is how the word is being said. So the great things, some of the great, or one of the major thing that poetry does, or even those sentences or those wise saying, what they do is they automatically bypass your conscious mind, so they know how to captivate your mind. Like, come here, and that's how we go like, ooh, I like how he put that together, how it was said. But now once they got you open, now the word literally is acting on you. Well, at least for me, I love it. I love it, especially hearing how certain things are being said, but most importantly, as I'm unpacking the wisdom in it, it's just it's something to live for. So, but in addition to that too, and of course, you don't have to necessarily experience what's being said for you to know it. It gives you the insight. That's why a lot of these things are straight up wisdom. And those would be some of the things that I would recommend a lot of people to do because it will automatically increase your consciousness. And of course, you would have to be at the level for you to get it. But, the more you do it, the better you'll get at it. Because what's happening is it will be opening you up as you do it a little bit more or you listen to it a little bit more. But nevertheless, that's what I do, and that's what we do in this channel. Now, with no further ado, let's delve into what you see here. So now, to find yourself, you have to lose yourself. Or losing yourself is to find yourself. So over here, what you're looking at two different extremities here. Two extremes. How do I lose myself and then find myself? And that's the beauty in how it's being said. And that's the true power of the word. And that's what we're here to talk about. Um, so losing yourself, we all know, change plays a big part in ourselves. I mean, in our lives. Look around you. It's all about changes. It's all about that. So, however, for some reason, change has a bad connotation in the spiritual or religion, even with, anyway, that's a whole different conversation. But unfortunately, there's you know, um, due to ignorance, we tend to look at change as a hard stop, as something that is temporary, but not understanding it still lives on. It takes on a different form. That's why even when we talk about death, we say so and so transition, because we understand, and for God's sake, like, well, I'm also a medium, right? So I know for a fact, and anybody who ever had any, stories that you heard, shit, nigga. If you go into church, hopefully you're praying to be saved again, right? So you won't be burning eternally. So in some shape or form, we are aware there's something greater than us. But I'm saying all of that to say, change is not a bad thing at all. And there's a misconception when it comes to change because we always feel like anything that's temporary is no good, and that's not true. In fact, when we're looking at shit that are temporaries, it's like we can always go back to it. It may even last a lifetime. You know what I'm saying? A certain because I remember, I'll give you a perfect example. My son now is 5, but when this nigga was like 3 years old, man, he was smiling, and I still have it in my mind because this boy was so cute, and the way he even the face that he was making as he was smiling, and he got like the dumples and all that shit. Like, damn, boy. Do you see what I'm saying? So although that was something that was temporary, but to me, that shit lasts like a very long time. And we also, when we talk about those Kodak moments, what do you think those Kodak moments are? This is us getting a glimpse at what within the temporary, the eternity is right in there, the polarity. So if you know anything about the Kabbalion tells us about, extremities meet. They said hot and cold are the same thing, but they vary in degrees. It's the same air, it's the same water, it varies in degrees. The hot water, the cold water, temperature went up. When you step outside, it's the same temperature. It's either the temperature is hot because the temperature goes up, or it's either it's cold. So now we're talking about it varies in degree, but we're talking about the same thing. So the very first thing in that statement is the reconciliation of those two extremities. So already, this is already heavy in itself. And I haven't even started talking about the whole conversation in itself, but looking at losing yourself, and then now it's to find yourself. It's that alone got my attention. I hope it does for you too. But anyway, so now, but for you to truly understand what's being said by losing yourself, you have to understand change. You got to understand that we need to be uncomfortable. In fact, a good opposition is what it's always needed in our development. There's no way you're gonna become grown without opposition. The same principles that applies, let's say when you go to the gym, niggas are looking to take pictures to show you how heavy they are lifting shit. Because you understand that pain comes with strength. Well, the same thing goes here in life. Unfortunately, a lot of us, have not changed. When you say so and so is retarded, or maybe because I've seen that a lot of 40-year-old people. I mean, a lot of 16 years old in a fucking 40-year-old body because they have not changed. They have not lost who they are. So losing yourself isn't necessarily like going crazy. It's not. It's definitely not like being out of anger or not out of anger. What's the thing that I'm looking for here? It's not losing your mind in the sense of being triggered or you not having any control. What this is actually referring to is to let go or to expand your mind, to expand yourself, going beyond, like not to be too comfortable because you need that opposition for you to grow. And the funny thing is, and as you're doing so, and that's how you find a greater self. It's almost like for me, I could definitely say this. It's like the more I change, the more I realize that I didn't change. But I can't refute the fact that I have changed because I've had, let's just say, additional consciousness that I didn't have before. I became more aware. So therefore, I know I have changed. But it's almost like I have changed, but to a better me. So the fact that, the more I changed, the more I realized that I didn't change, it all comes together. This is your true nature. That's why you also have to embrace or embody paradox. It's part of our life. So that's why this is not a logical thing. Because if you're going to be logical here, when you say to lose yourself and then, for you to find yourself, logically, it doesn't make any sense. But as we go along, as we start to break it down a lot more, and then we're saying losing yourself isn't necessarily losing yourself. I mean, you are letting go. You are letting go of the known, what you're used to, but yet you are getting into a greater you. It's like as a boy, I talk like a boy, but now that I am a man, I gotta speak like a man. But that doesn't mean the little boy doesn't exist in me. It doesn't mean that the little boy is still not here. Nah, the little boy is still here. He's grown, nigga. It's transformed. You're looking at a better version of that little boy. Meaning you precisely have to lose yourself to find yourself. But what this is referring to isn't necessarily, like I stated before, like you going crazy or going bananas or fucking, being triggered and not being in control of yourself. What this is saying, this is also you not being in control of yourself, but also being in control of yourself at the same time, because you letting go of what you do not know. I mean, that's how you grow. That's what the opposition is bringing to you, to embrace, but you got to be in control to embrace what you don't know. Anyway, I was thinking about something. I'm not sure if I should mention that, but anyway, one of my, I would have to say, one of my transition in terms of rites of passage, right? As I was on my journey, my third eye started to open up, my psychic abilities are kicking in. There was something that I personally have experienced where, and that was my introduction. Well, not necessarily my introduction, but it was also a different type of introduction where my ancestors were actually coming through, and they were coming through me. And it's like at first I was a little bit resistant, like, what the fuck? You know what I'm saying? And then, but at the same time, being a healer, I was also healing myself. I also knew I had to let go. And it was fine. Like, as they were coming through, they told me, come on, chill, dog. You good. And when I finally let go, I became with them. Like, the experience in itself is like, and that's when I truly came to understand and live what it means to be in the Father and the Father's in me. But yet I'm still the Son and the Father's still the Father. So that's when I understand your individuality doesn't stop your spirituality. In fact, you need your individuality for you to meet the Father. That's your essence, that's your uniqueness. You need to have that. Because, and the reason why I'm saying that too, because there's a misconception about, especially, let's just say in the European spirituality, they tend to mix your individuality with motherfucking ego. Like, I'll give you a perfect example. I'm a watchman. Nigga, I probably got about 4 or 5 watchmen. That's what I love. You know what I'm saying? But most, the misunderstanding would be like, you're still getting time out of all of them. Why do you need 5? Right? I mean, they still telling you the time, which is true. I definitely get it. Then, but the misconception would be, some people would look at it maybe, it's my ego kicking in, whereas it has nothing to do with my fucking ego. I mean, my ego is also part of it, but it's my individuality. That's what I like. I like that. It doesn't take away. In fact, it allows me to explore more of myself. Do you see what I'm saying? And that's not going to stop you from being conscious. In fact, you are opening up your consciousness. Ironically. But anyway, going back to the whole conversation at hand, that is such a fully loaded statement because what this is saying is it's talking about, you losing yourself. Again, we were talking about the paradox that you got to embrace, but also losing yourself isn't necessarily a bad thing. But what we're saying is stepping into the unknown, not to get comfortable. Welcome a great opposition. Just like if you were going to the gym, you'll be showing off like, yeah, you strong and all that shit. Well, there you go, baby. That's what we do in life. See, those same principles applies everywhere. That's why our ancestors, they were smart enough, they understood that. That's why they understood we are all one. That's why we praise nature. That's why not praising nature, let's just say the tree in itself, but it was the wisdom behind it, the understanding, the intelligence. In other words, the energy behind it. So lose yourself to find yourself. We're gonna leave it here. Um, Let me see. I do have a couple more coming up because I haven't been posted on this channel for a second. But it's definitely a pleasure to actually come back. And there's a lot more to talk about. And in the meantime, I strongly suggest if you like, that kind of stuff, for you to actually check out my other channel, which is L'Esprit. Um, and we talk about a whole lot of other stuff on there. All right. So I sent Malik.